There's a particular kind of enemy you never see coming. Not the one who insults you to your face, not the one who openly competes with you, not the one whose hostility is written all over them. The dangerous one. The one who smiles at you, cheers you on, and quietly, methodically, hopes you fail. Jealousy is one of the oldest human emotions. It predates civilization. It predates language. It's hardwired into the mammalian brain as a survival response, a signal that someone else has something you believe you deserve. And for most of human history, that response served a purpose. Resources were scarce. Status determined survival. If someone in your tribe had more food, more power, more mating options than you, your brain registered that as a threat. The problem is that we don't live in tribes anymore. But the hardware is still running. What you get in modern life is this ancient biological drive wearing a social mask. Because openly expressing jealousy is embarrassing. It exposes weakness. It admits that you feel inferior to someone else. So instead, the jealous person learns to perform. They learn to disguise the signal. They smile when they want to sneer. They congratulate when they want to collapse. They ask how things are going when what they really mean is, please tell me things aren't going as well as they look. And most people never spot it. Because most people are too focused on being liked to notice they're being resented. This is what we're going to talk about today. Not the obvious kind of jealousy. Not the person who openly undercuts you or rolls their eyes when you succeed. The sophisticated kind. The kind that wears a friendly face. The kind that does real damage precisely because you don't see it coming. Here are 10 signs that someone is jealous of you and hiding it remarkably well. Sign number 1. They downplay your wins without technically criticizing them. This is the signature move of a person who has quietly decided that your success is a personal insult to them. And it's devastatingly effective because it never quite crosses the line into being obviously negative. You get a promotion. Instead of congratulating you, they say something like, "Oh wow, that place has been promoting everyone lately, hasn't it?" You close a big deal, and they immediately ask, "Did they offer you a good salary?" Or is it one of those roles where the title sounds better than the pay? You lose weight, get in great shape, and they say, "You look good. You're not overdoing it, are you? Too much gym isn't healthy either." Notice the pattern. Every single response has a built-in diminisher, a caveat, a question that reframes your achievement as either lucky, less impressive than it appears, or potentially a problem. They never say, "You failed." They never say, "You don't deserve that." But they consistently position your wins as slightly less real than they are. This is psychological precision. They get the social credit of appearing supportive while simultaneously doing their best to deflate your reality. If you push back, they'll say, "I was just being honest. I thought you'd appreciate the reality check." That's the cover story. The reality is that your success activated something in them, and they couldn't let it land without puncturing it first. Sign number 2. Their support arrives late and leaves early. Watch the timing. Jealous people who are hiding it are almost always slightly delayed in their enthusiasm. When something good happens to you, there's a beat, sometimes a long one. Before they respond, they're processing. Their first internal reaction isn't joy for you. It's something else, something uncomfortable. And then they manage it, decide how to respond, and show up with a version of support that looks almost right but feels slightly off. They also don't sustain it. Genuine support has a certain staying power. A person who's actually happy for you will bring it up again. They'll ask follow-up questions. They'll reference it later because it registered as genuinely good news that matters to them. The secretly jealous person gets through the initial moment and then drops it entirely. Sometimes they change the subject almost immediately. Sometimes they mention something good happening in their own life within 30 seconds of acknowledging yours. The emotional handoff happens fast, faster than it should if the feeling were real. You'll feel it. There's something slightly hollow about the exchange, though you might not be able to articulate it. Trust that feeling. The brain registers social authenticity before the conscious mind can name it. Sign number 3. They become almost obsessively interested in your failures. Here's where it gets interesting. People reveal their real emotions through what generates genuine enthusiasm in them. A person who secretly resents your success will show unusual energy and engagement when things go wrong for you. Not overt glee, nothing so obvious, but watch how animated they become when you mention a setback, how many follow-up questions they ask, how much detail they want, how they lean in, suddenly present in a way they weren't when you were describing something that went well. There's a German word for this, Schadenfreude, pleasure derived from another person's misfortune. Most people experience flickers of it. It's part of the human psychological inheritance. But for the jealous person who's been quietly suffering through your success, your failure is relief. It's evidence that the universe isn't so unfair after all. It's confirmation that they were right to wait. The tell is disproportionality. The energy they bring to your bad news shouldn't match the energy they withhold from your good news. When those two things are inverted, when your problems are more interesting to them than your progress, you're looking at concealed jealousy almost certainly. Sign number 4. They send backhanded compliments wrapped in sincere-sounding delivery. This takes real social skill to execute, which is why it's a sign of sophisticated jealousy specifically. The obvious version, the eye roll with a fake compliment, anyone can spot. The sophisticated version sounds almost indistinguishable from genuine praise. Almost. You're so brave to put yourself out there like that. I could never. Translation. I've framed your confidence as recklessness and my own fear of taking risks as wisdom. You make everything look so effortless. It must be nice. Translation. I'm implying either that you haven't worked hard for what you have, or that your life is charmed in ways mine isn't. You've really come a long way. Translation. Let me remind both of us where you started, in case the current version of you is starting to seem too impressive. The mechanism here is something psychologists call ambiguous messaging, statements that contain enough positivity to seem like compliments, but enough negativity to do damage. And because the delivery is sincere, your brain's social processing system gets confused. You feel vaguely bad, but can't justify feeling bad because the surface-level words were complimentary. This is emotional sabotage with built-in deniability. And the people who do it most effectively have usually been doing it for years. Sign number 5. They compete in ways they don't acknowledge as competition. The openly competitive person is easy to manage. You know where you stand. The secretly jealous person competes covertly, and the covert kind is far more exhausting because it's never named. You mention you're thinking about starting a business. Suddenly, they're exploring a business idea. You take up a new hobby. They discover they've always wanted to try that same thing. You start dressing better. They come to the next social gathering in a noticeably different outfit. You lose weight. They start talking about their new fitness routine. None of this is coincidence. What's happening is that your progress has activated their sense of relative standing, and because they can't tolerate the gap, they try to close it, immediately, and without acknowledging that that's what they're doing. If you call it out, they'll be confused, offended even. I've been thinking about that business idea for ages, I just hadn't mentioned it. Maybe. but watch the pattern over time. If your movements and their movements are consistently mirrored, if your decisions and their decisions track each other in a way that can't be explained by shared interest, you're watching someone who is measuring themselves against you constantly and doesn't want you to know. Sign number 6. They give advice that subtly steers you wrong. This one requires sitting with because it can look like genuine help from the outside. The jealous person who has hidden their feelings well enough to maintain a relationship with you will often give advice, and some of it will be good advice. But watch the pattern of what they consistently steer you toward and away from. Toward options that involve more caution, more delay, more second-guessing. Away from the bold move, the confident step, the thing that might actually change your life in a significant way. Are you sure you're ready for that? I just don't want to see you get hurt. I've seen people try that and it rarely works the way they expect. You might want to wait until the timing is better. This language sounds protective. It sounds like someone who cares about you, and the jealous person may even convince themselves that it is. But functionally, what this advice does is introduce doubt, create hesitation, and slow you down, which is exactly what someone who is threatened by your progress would want to happen, even if they'd never consciously admit that that's the goal. Pay attention to the results of their advice over time. Does it tend to keep you moving forward or stationary? Does it tend to expand your possibilities or contract them? Advice reveals values, and sometimes the value it reveals is, I'd prefer that you stay where you are. Sign number 7. They tell you one thing and tell others something slightly different. You find out eventually, maybe through a mutual friend, maybe through a throwaway comment that reveals more than it should. And you realize that the version of you that exists in their private conversations is slightly, sometimes significantly, different from the version they present to your face. Not outright defamation necessarily. Nothing so dramatic. Just a consistent habit of adding context when they talk about your success to other people. Mentioning complications you'd rather not have shared. Framing your wins with caveats that weren't asked for. Volunteering information about your past struggles when what would serve you is simply, he's doing well, she's crushing it, I'm proud of them. This is reputation management by proxy. They can't sabotage you directly without exposing themselves. So they shape the narrative at the edges. They control which version of you gets transmitted to the people around you. They keep just enough nuance in circulation to ensure that your image never quite becomes as impressive as it might otherwise be. And when confronted, they'll be genuinely hurt-seeming. I was just being honest with people. I didn't think that was a secret. I'm sorry, I thought I was defending you. The cover story is usually some version of, I was protecting you, or I was being real. But what they were actually doing was protecting themselves from the full social consequence of your success. Sign number 8. They ask questions that are dressed as curiosity but function as surveillance. How are things going? Sounds innocent. And from most people, it is. But from a jealous person who is managing their feelings skillfully, those 4 words are an information-gathering operation. They want to know where you stand so they can calibrate where they stand relative to you. If things are going well, they nod and file it away and feel that familiar, uncomfortable thing they've learned to manage. If things are going less well, the energy shifts. The questions get slightly more specific, more engaged. They want details. They'll also ask about areas of your life they know represent struggles for you, not because they want to help, because they want confirmation that the gap hasn't grown any larger. The person who is always asking how your relationship is going when they know it's been rocky, who always circles back to your finances when they know money's been tight, who always asks about the situation you find most difficult. They are not primarily concerned with your well-being. They are primarily concerned with your standing relative to theirs. Real curiosity spreads evenly across your life. Surveillance clusters around your pressure points. Sign number 9. They withdraw exactly when you need support most. Jealousy produces a particular kind of absence that's hard to name. It's not the absence of someone who's busy. It's not the absence of someone who's struggling with their own life. It's the absence of someone who shows up reliably for everything except the things that matter most to you. Big moment coming up. An interview, a performance, a launch, a difficult conversation you've been preparing for. You mention it to them. They're supportive in the moment. And then when the moment arrives, something comes up. They couldn't make it. They forgot to follow up afterward. They check in 3 days later, casually, as if it wasn't the significant thing you told them it was. This is not random. The timing is too consistent. What's happening is that the jealous person cannot bring themselves to be present for your success in real time. From a distance, they can manage it. They can compose a reaction. They can calibrate their response. But being there in the room, watching it happen, being asked to witness and celebrate you, that's too much. It requires more emotional management than they have available. So, they disappear. And they usually have a reason. Always a reason. But if the pattern repeats, if you track the specific moments when their availability mysteriously evaporates, you'll notice something. It happens most reliably around your highs, not your lows. Real friends show up for both. Jealous people show up for the lows and struggle with the highs. Sign number 10. You feel vaguely worse about yourself after spending time with them. This is the most important sign. And it requires a level of honest self-reflection that most people avoid because it demands they trust their own internal experience over someone else's external performance. The jealous person who hides it well is sophisticated. They've rehearsed this. They know how to seem supportive. They know how to say the right words. But something leaks through despite all of that performance. Something registers in your nervous system that your conscious mind might dismiss, but that is nevertheless real. You finish a conversation and feel slightly smaller than you did before. You leave a gathering where they were present, feeling vaguely deflated, a little less confident, a little less certain about the thing you walked in believing. Nothing specific was said that you could point to. But the net effect was subtraction, not addition. That is information. The brain's social processing system is extraordinarily sophisticated. It picks up micro-expressions, tonal inconsistencies, timing anomalies, energy mismatches, thousands of data points per second that never make it to conscious awareness but absolutely influence how you feel. When you consistently feel worse around someone who is supposed to care about you, your nervous system is trying to tell you something. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't tell yourself you're being paranoid or uncharitable. The people in your life who genuinely want you to win will consistently make you feel more confident, more capable, more alive. The people who are quietly hoping you fall will consistently do the opposite. Not because they say anything obviously terrible, but because the energy underneath the performance is corrosive, and energy is hard to hide completely. So now you know the signs. But knowing them raises an uncomfortable question. What do you do about it? Here's what most people get wrong. They either confront the person directly, which almost never works because the jealous person has enough self-awareness to deny everything convincingly, or they say nothing and continue being quietly undermined. Neither of those is the answer. The answer is calibration. You calibrate the relationship to match the reality of what it is, not the version you wish it were. You don't have to burn it down. You don't have to make accusations. You simply adjust how much you share, how much you invest, how much emotional weight you place on their responses. The person who downplays your wins gets less access to your wins. The person whose advice consistently slows you down gets consulted less. The person whose presence makes you smaller gets less of your presence. You don't have to be dramatic about it. You just stop treating a limited relationship like an unlimited one, and you protect your energy with the same seriousness with which you'd protect anything else of value. Because here's what's true. The people in your proximity shape your internal landscape whether you intend them to or not. Human beings are profoundly social creatures with nervous systems designed to absorb the emotional states of those around us. This isn't weakness, it's biology. But it means that who you spend time with is one of the most consequential decisions you make, because their jealousy or their generosity will leak into you regardless of how self-aware you are. Find the people for whom your success is genuinely good news. They exist. They're rarer than they should be, but they exist. The ones who hear about your promotion and feel actual pleasure. Who hear that you found love and feel actual warmth. Who see you improving and feel inspired rather than threatened. Who celebrate you with an energy that matches the occasion, without caveats, without diminishers, without surveillance disguised as curiosity. Those people are worth everything. Build your circle around them. And when you spot the signs of hidden jealousy in someone close to you, don't collapse into bitterness. Understand it for what it is, an ancient biological signal, firing in someone who hasn't learned to manage it or transform it. You don't have to hate them for it, you just have to see it clearly. Because seeing clearly is the first act of real self-protection. Not everyone who smiles at you wants you to win, and knowing that isn't cynicism, it's awareness.